Hello everybody and welcome back to the F1 My Team Career Mode with me, Dan, and the Radiant Racing team as we come to the first race of the week. It is of course in France, round 7 at a Castellet for a circuit which we have been able to perform reasonably well at in the past, and we'll be hoping to carry the success from Friday's win in Canada through to France as well. Hopefully be another successful week. There may be a delay on the next video though, as I will be travelling to France actually, where the Eiffel Tower is right there on screen for work, so I may not be able to get the next video done on time, but it will be coming. Anyway, don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you know when that video and others are released, and we'll get on to the starting grid of today's race. And once again it is Valtteri Bottas and Radiant Slothz sharing the front row, followed by Lando Norris with a good performance in the McLaren and fellow Brit Lewis Hamilton. Behind them, the other McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo. He lines up alongside former teammate Max Verstappen. Then we have the other Red Bull of Sergio Perez alongside the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, followed by the other Ferrari of Carlos Sainz and his fellow Spaniard Fernando Alonso rounding up the top 10. Behind them, Pierre Gasly, unsurprisingly next to Alonso and Yuki Tsunoda. Then Esteban Ocon lines up alongside Sebastian Vettel in the first Aston Martin, followed by Zhou Guanyu with another good qualifying performance. He's alongside the other Aston Martin of Lance Stroll, followed by the two Alfa Romeos of Antonio Giovinazzi and Mick Schumacher. The two Williams of George Russell and Nicholas Latifi line up on the penultimate row, and that means, of course, it is Christian Lundgaard and Nikita Mazepin. Well, here we go, getting ready for 5 red lights, which have been obscured by the Emirates Fly Better board, but we're away, and it's a good start for Radiant Slothz compared to Valtteri Bottas, and he's actually already ahead of him on the run down to the first corner, but Bottas is going to have a look down the inside to see if he can retake the position from Radiant Slothz, and they go through turn 2, and Radiant Slothz runs wide, allowing Bottas to get through behind them. Lando Norris defends third position from Lewis Hamilton. It looks as though he may actually lose that. There could have been some contact just there as well. And Radiant Slothz still in pursuit of Valtteri Bottas, but given the fact that he's already lost that position so early on, it might just be that the Radiant racing car is no match for the Mercedes. We already saw it was a struggle in the last race for him to stay ahead of both of them, and now he's got one ahead of him and one behind him as they make the run down to the end of the DRS straight. Still just within a second is Radiant Slothz, but quite clearly lost quite a lot of time on that first DRS straight. And Bottas nearly actually up to the 1 second window, much like in Canada, 1 second ahead after just the first lap. And that proved to be a real difficult challenge for Radiant Slothz to try and catch back up again. Let's go back on board with the start and just watch what happened. And there we go. Amazing start. Apparently forgets to put the overtake mode on, which might be how Bottas manages to get down the inside it, and just takes a little bit too much curb, means he has to open the steering up and allow Bottas through on the inside. This was Bottas's perspective of things. Just very slow away off the line there to come down towards turn 1. He turns in, takes a swipe at the Radiant racing car for no reason. He runs wide and retakes the position. We join Radiant Slothz. Tried his best to stay ahead of Lewis Hamilton, although it turns out Lewis Hamilton is within a second of him, but Radiant Slothz is not within a second of Hamilton's teammate as they go on to what will be one of the DRS straights here in just a moment. And he runs wide there, actually has to correct himself on the curb. Lewis Hamilton going to get a great run at him without the DRS whatsoever. The Mercedes right up the back of the Radiant racing car as they go side by side down towards turn 1. Hamilton looks to be ahead, but Radiant Slothz is able to just shove him towards the inside, and he does actually get round turn 2 this time without running wide. And I think we may have lost somebody actually from the top 15, unless it's just Zhou Guanyu getting past Lance Stroll. The issue is we've got Christian Lundgaard in 20th place, which means somebody has managed to end up at the back of the field. to allow that Haas to come through. It may have been Esteban Ocon actually looking down the field. As I almost missed Lewis Hamilton trying to get past Radiant Slothz. Somehow, Radiant Slothz not in a position to lose that place. But this is the onboard of just now. Hamilton round the outside. Radiant Slothz leaves the door open. And this time doesn't run onto the curb. As they come round the final corner, surely Lewis Hamilton will be having another look. Bottas, we're not quite able to see how far ahead he is right now because the split time is saying 1/10. Oh, there we go, it is 2.5 seconds. As Lewis Hamilton does get past the Radiant Racing car. The only benefit to that for Radiant Slothz is that he's now going to get the DRS as they come down towards the DRS zone. Hamilton unlikely to make a break of over a second with just a couple of corners. The bollard, incredibly, still alive, although it may have just been run over by Radiant Slothz there with an early entry to the corner. And he has dropped back quite far from Lewis Hamilton. Now Lando Norris is going to look down the inside. Lando Norris gets past on the straight, but what can Radiant Slothz do here? He does outbrake the McLaren and have the better line. He takes the corner. Lewis Hamilton somehow 1.5 minutes behind his teammate. I think there might be something wrong with the board there. As they come down towards this flat out corner.
Box, box, box.
We rejoin them a little bit later on, coming into the pit lane. Hamilton stays out. Bottas, no, he doesn't. Hamilton comes in. Bottas stays out. We've also got Lando Norris. And is that Sergio? No, it's Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc's in. Ricciardo's in. Radiant Slothz gets down to the end of the pit lane. It was, of course, this circuit in Season 1 where they finally, I believe, when they finally decided on the green livery for the pit crew. If I'm wrong, it was that disgusting purple. That's the other option. But Radiant Slothz comes out of the pit lane, crucially within a second of Lewis Hamilton, which means he is going to get the benefit of the tow. As we see a bollard of finally getting absolutely destroyed in the background and flying across the circuit there. Fantastic stuff. But as I was saying, Radiant Slothz gets the benefit of the DRS from Lewis Hamilton. Now that has proved in the past to be very effective at helping cars on the undercut get back and try and make the move on the guys ahead of them. Now, Valtteri Bottas had about 2.5 to 3 seconds over these two earlier on. And now Radiant Slothz, although is clearly much slower than Lewis Hamilton, is being pulled along in his wake. And, well, the star of one of our races, Christian Lundgaard's up ahead. He may get in the way again, assuming he hasn't come into the pits. Anyway, round the final corner come Hamilton and Slothz. Bottas has come in, so has Perez and Norris and Sainz. And they power away. There they all are coming out of the pit lane. But here comes Valtteri Bottas. It's going to be a freeway fight into turn 1. Radiant Slothz and Lewis Hamilton go to the inside, and they do get past. Incredibly, Valtteri Bottas undercut by his teammate and his rival. Both of these two fighting for the championship at the moment. Lewis Hamilton still not quite up there at the moment. But they come round onto the DRS straight. And I try not to yawn. I have been awake all night. It is literally 20 to 6 in the morning right now as I record this video. As I've just come back from an evening out. Ghost hunting for my girlfriend. And had to make this video before going off to France for work reasons. As we see Radiant Slothz there running quite wide over the curbs there. Amazingly, still within a second of Lewis Hamilton, which says to me that Hamilton may be struggling here compared to Bottas. Either that or Bottas just went completely overkill earlier on, trying to get away from Radiant Slothz. And went a little bit too far with it. But so far, Lewis Hamilton not able to make the same kind of break. And is instead giving his rival, one of his rivals, a lovely tow Down the pit straight, we see Yuki Tsunoda and Sebastian Vettel in the pit lane as well. Mick Schumacher, none of them matter in this battle right now. Interestingly, though, the two Red Bulls have managed to promote themselves up to 4th and 5th, getting an overcut on Norris and Ricciardo. Norris all the way down in 9th. Somehow, must have been held up in the pit lane earlier on. Although, of course, he didn't know Daniel Ricciardo came in with Radiant Slothz, so that would have been the undercut for him. And it's definitely benefited him, and somehow Perez has managed to benefit from overcutting. As we see, finally, Radiant Slothz has a look round the outside of Hamilton. He's going to come... Oh, he looks as though he took a swipe at him there as they come down the DRS straight. And now Bottas is going to have a look round the outside. Doesn't quite get it. We'll go on board with Radiant Slothz now. This was the move out of the pit lane, actually. Lewis Hamilton, much like we saw in Canada, takes a swipe at the car on his outside. We'll see that from Bottas's view now. There it is. Swings across. Radiant Slothz has to take the corner, so he's okay there. And then we'll go back on board there. This is Lewis Hamilton coming across in the braking zone. And then causing Radiant Slothz to run wide and almost allow Valtteri Bottas through. Not great for the two Brits there. A very heated fight going on track right now. Which could get even hotter. As now we have Valtteri Bottas and Radiant Slothz about to deploy DRS. Down the pit straight. Nobody else in the way right now. Bottas seems to have dropped back slightly. He may have taken some damage earlier on from Radiant Slothz going around the outside of him. Either that, or he just wasn't able to follow in the dirty air too well. Radiant Slothz certainly isn't finding it too difficult right now to stay behind the Mercedes of Hamilton as they come round onto the DRS straight. And away they go down here. Lewis Hamilton looks as though he's about to finally lose the lead. He takes another swipe at Radiant Slothz. Radiant Slothz forces Hamilton to the inside to say thank you for cutting me up multiple times and for almost crashing into your teammate. Lewis Hamilton has to take the corner. Has to corner cut there. Let's go on board with Radiant Slothz. A slightly controversial move, but one that Lewis Hamilton did in fact deserve. And in fact, he didn't actually run him off the track. Lewis Hamilton did turn to the left there and decide to run over the curb. He could have carried on. He decided not to, and he had to allow his teammate through. It's going to ruffle some feathers, but Radiant Slothz had to do what he had to do. It's not going to do him any favours though, because now he's under attack from two Mercedes with DRS. Somehow is able to survive down most of the pit of the back straight here. As Bottas had a look at the inside, unfortunately, unlike Hamilton, doesn't have the slight bravery, but Radiant Slothz does run wide with a slight mistake there. And now he's under attack. Bottas is through. Hamilton's going to be on his outside as they come flat out round the right-hander. And Radiant Slothz there nearly drifting into the side of Lewis Hamilton as he goes back up the inside round the horseshoe shape here. Somehow able to hang on to second place there, but his tyres are going to be slightly worn out and overheated from that manoeuvre. Sliding all over the circuit. Do right on board with a slight corner cut. And he runs deep into turn one. It's not going to do him any favours when it comes to overtaking, that's for sure. And no, 7/10 back is not close enough to go for a move. This was the incident. Yep, touch of oversteer, had to correct, and Bottas able to slip through. Hamilton currently on the left. The Radiant Slothz does go to the right to try and go up the inside of Bottas, but thinks better of it, and it just does not know that Lewis Hamilton was going around his outside there. That could have been a nasty accident. Another touch of oversteer there, actually, as well. Clearly an issue for Radiant Slothz at the moment. Perhaps worn tyres. Who knows? Lewis Hamilton drops back slightly, gets into some clean air. It does appear as though we have a DRS train forming for first place, going all the way back to Lando Norris in 9th. And then there's a 5-second gap to Fernando Alonso. So any one of these drivers who makes a mistake is likely going to end up reducing their points total by quite a significant margin if they're at the front. So Radiant Slothz, with 1 lap to go, will be going all out on the attack. But erring on the side of caution, not wanting to end up in P9 after all of this hard work and getting back to where he started. Lando Norris, one of the big losers from this race, started on the 2nd row in P3, now sitting in P9 after being undercut by half the cars in front of him and somehow not staying ahead of them after the pit lane stops that he had. Quite surprising, but strange things happen on F1, and it's no different here. Radiant Slothz still unable to catch Valtteri Bottas. There may be another opportunity coming up in a few seconds. This is normally a corner that he can close up in and try and go around the outside, but he is not. There is no chance of him getting round Bottas in the final corner. So that will be it. Radiant Slothz comes home P2 behind Valtteri Bottas, who will surely take the lead in the Drivers' Championship. Then Lewis Hamilton completes the podium as they cross the line now and head down towards turn 1 for their celebration lap. When it comes to Driver of the Day time, somehow Lewis Hamilton gets Driver of the Day for literally moving up 1 position. Incredible stuff. But Mercedes and Toto Wolff clearly very happy about that. I don't think they are too bothered about Bottas winning yet another race and celebrating with his rival. It is in fact just that Lewis Hamilton got Driver of the Day. A good run for Lewis Hamilton this season. Driver of the Day, he's had a few wins and probably a few fastest laps as well, which is more than we saw from him at this stage of the season in Season 1. As the drivers celebrate, I sip away at my drink as well, because this is thirsty work, and we'll get on to the full results in just a second. Let's go over to them. And here are the final results. It does turn out that Lewis Hamilton did pick up the fastest lap there as well, so he gains the bonus point. But the top 3 were followed by Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc, Pierre Gasly, Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso. Over in the Drivers' Championship, somehow Radiant Slothz still retains the lead over rival Valtteri Bottas by 23 points, and it's a jump back to Sergio Perez below 100 on 87. Lewis Hamilton just 3 points behind Perez on 84, and then a jump back to Daniel Ricciardo, who overtakes his teammate for P5 in the championship. Then we have Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, Pierre Gasly, Charles Leclerc and Esteban Ocon rounding out the top 10. Further down the order we have Yuki Tsunoda, Lance Stroll, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel and Zhou Guanyu round out the final point scorers, followed by George Russell, Mick Schumacher, Antonio Giovinazzi, Nicholas Latifi, Nikita Mazepin and Christian Lundgaard. And finally, over in the Constructors, it's Mercedes still ahead of rivals Red Bull, who are promoted up to second, just 1 point ahead of Radiant Racing. Then it's a small jump back to McLaren in P4, followed by AlphaTauri, Ferrari, Alpine, Aston Martin, Williams, Alfa Romeo and Haas. That's all for today. We'll catch you in the next one.